Hi everybody, so I wanted to do a video to talk about breastfeeding and being a working mom. I mentioned in my first working mom video that I would do a separate video on just breastfeeding, and I'll probably do a couple different videos. I think on this one I'll talk about what I did to prepare to go back to work as far as breastfeeding, because Emma is still exclusively breastfed, and there are some things that I did prepare ahead of time, obviously, before I went back to work. So I'll start talking about that. Being a breastfeeding and a full-time working mom is definitely a challenge, but it's possible. It's something you can do. I feel like so many moms out there think, oh, if I'm a working mom, then breastfeeding is just going to go out the door. And that's not the case. I mean, if you are breastfeeding, you can successfully breastfeed and be a full-time working mom at the same time, but it is going to require you to do a lot more work than, just opting for formula. So what I started to do when Emma was 1 week old, I started to pump, and I would pump almost 3 times a day. Initially I started pumping 3 times a day, usually every time, about an hour after she would eat is when I would pump, because she was eating, every 2 to 3 hours. The first thing that you want to do as a working mom is invest in a good pump. It is absolutely necessary that you invest in a good pump. I have the Medela Pump and Style, which is expensive. It was, a huge chunk of money that we did set aside to spend on that, but it is amazing, and it's the best investment that I could ever have made because of choosing to breastfeed. It's something you absolutely need to do. You have to have a good pump. So like I said, I started pumping when Emma was 1 week old, and I would pump 3 times a day, and I just kept pumping and pumping and pumping and building up storage, the whole time I was on maternity leave. I was on maternity leave for 12 weeks, and like I said, I would try to pump 3 times a day, at least initially, and then, at least twice a day. Towards the end, I kind of started to get towards like 1, and that was mostly because I was just lazy. But 2 to 3 times a day is ideal for you to start to build up a storage supply. When I went back to work, I had over 300 ounces of milk pumped for Emma. So that was great because it just kind of eases the transition. You don't have to worry about, am I going to have enough? If you just start pumping right away, you will not have to worry about that. How's your thumb? So that's hugely important. That's the biggest part of prepping to go back to work, is building up your supply and your storage. So that's huge. I use the Lancino bags to store all of her milk. Thankfully for us, we do have a second fridge in our garage, so we have plenty of room to store the milk. I don't know what I would have done had we just had the one fridge, because it takes up a lot of space. I have 3 bins that I use for her milk. So that's kind of it for how I built up my supply. The second thing, like I said, is definitely invest in a good pump. And going back to work full time, you need to know what your rights are as a breastfeeding mom. In the United States, they did pass a law about 2 years ago now, I think it was, that your employer, if they're over 50 employees, has to provide you with a place that is not a bathroom to pump. They have to make every effort to accommodate you as a mom. So especially for me, I don't work for a huge company. I work for a smaller company, and our office is small. And they don't have a designated pumping room. I know a lot of moms at their jobs have an area that's dedicated to pump, and I didn't have that, and I wasn't going to be shy about my rights to have a place to pump that isn't a bathroom. The bathroom for me just isn't the best option, and it doesn't have to be. If your employer, like I said, they have to provide you with a place to pump. So before I went back to work, I talked with my boss. My boss is a female, but even if it was a male, I still would have, brought the topic up. It's just not something I'm shy about at work. I know a lot of people are shy about it, but I'm proud of the fact that I breastfeed my child, and so I'm okay with bringing it up. So I talked to my boss, and I kind of put it on her that, I am a nursing mom. I need to pump 3 times a day. I pump every time that Emma is scheduled to eat. I pump. So I brought it up to her and said, you know our situation, what's going to happen for me. When I come back to work, I need to have a place to pump. So we worked it out, and I do have a place that I pump that is a room that really isn't in use a lot. It's kind of like a storage room that has a locked keypad on it, so that I have a place that's completely private for me to pump. So don't be shy about knowing what your rights are and exercising them, because you absolutely need to have a place to pump, and your employer can't hold that against you. They have to give you break time throughout the day to do so. So definitely look up the state laws for you, but you definitely are covered as a mom, as a breastfeeding mom. I think that's pretty much it as far as prepping to go back to work. Oh, I should probably talk about her and the bottle. We introduced a bottle to her when she was 6 weeks old. Anytime she gets a bottle, it is not from me, and that's something that I kind of, sorry, my nose itches, researched and looked around. My husband obviously feeds her bottle, so the reason that I do that is because I know they can tend to like the bottle more and not want to take the breast. So anytime that she is with me, she is breastfeeding, and anytime she takes a bottle, it's with somebody else besides me, because that way she distinguishes when mommy feeds me, it's breastfeeding, when daddy feeds me, it's bottle or grandma or whoever. So I introduced the bottle to her at 6 weeks, and she did just fine with it. She didn't have any problem with taking the bottle and then going back to the breast, and that's how it is, still today. So excuse me. I didn't want to introduce it too early, but then again, I didn't want to introduce it too late. So it just kind of worked out that we introduced it around 6 weeks. My husband did the first one, and then we did have a couple times when I was still on maternity leave that she was with grandma and grandpa and had to feed with them, and she's never had a problem with that. So I think that's pretty much it as far as prepping to go back to work. I will do another video talking about how breastfeeding is going at work, and kind of things like that. So if you have any questions, leave them below as a comment, and I think that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Bye!